That's amazing because, John, sometimes you can't do enough for people. And when people ask for favors, it's on their timetable. They're asking you for a favor, but they want you to respond to their timetable. Like, I need an answer in a
Oh,
day,
oh,
you know.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes,
that
yes,
doesn't
yes.
happen. Are we ready for a countdown?
Why not? Oh,
Okay.
we're some.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. What happened?
Keep filming.
All right, so
Keep
this is
filming.
the Jersey Alchemist.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Okay, yeah,
I'm looking at
Jersey
I'm looking
Alchemist.
at the fluorescent
The
studio
Jersey
lights,
Alchemist has left the building.
the
Oh, there he
the
is. He's back.
room lights.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, listen.
Just don't go, especially when they're in that mirror.
This is a real podcast. This is what real people do, right? This is real. When we talk, you
Real
don't talk.
people and real skeletons.
Real Jersey. Real Jersey.
That's
All
it.
right, let's do a countdown. Five, four, three, two, one.
Hey, welcome back, friends. Welcome back to another episode of The Jersey Alchemist. And I'm your host, Dr. John Gerard Gallucci.
And I'm Philip D'Angelo. What's up, pal? Very interesting a pre-production shoot. I
Yeah.
mean, you lost your phone for a while there.
I did. Hey, I did the cell phone slap.
Yeah, searching high low.
Mostly because if it's in the room and then I didn't silence it, it's going to surely go off while we're recording. We don't want that.
No, some semblance of professionalism here. But but you couldn't find it. Now you lose your phone, it's a big deal, right?
big
We had
deal.
this discussion
It's
in
a
a
big
prior episode. So we spent some time trying to find your phone. That was
Yeah.
on vibrate, so it doesn't
Yeah.
make noise, which makes it harder.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would laugh at you, calling you, well, old man, you're forgetting, you're forgetting.
Right, right.
And then John walks into the men's room here in our facilities, and I, left the sink on the water running, washing my hands. It must have been run on hot. It must have been running for what, 30 minutes?
I
don't know.
opened the small bathroom
Yeah.
and I opened the door and walked into basically a steam room at the gym. It was, you could cut the humidity and it was hot. It must have been like 120 degrees in there. And I'm like, what the?
People getting
Right.
old. I don't know if our viewers are young, old, but let me tell you, what's coming is not pretty. That's for
Right.
sure.
But also, I think for the last 24 to 48 hours, and there is a cusp to it, some of you will know what we're talking about here. Mercury is in retrograde yet again. Ooh. So what does that mean? Mercury's in retrograde. Well, the planet that is Mercury doesn't actually fly backwards. It doesn't. It's just that apparently when it goes into the motion that's happening around it makes it look like it's going backwards, but it's not. The best I can explain it, and that's not my forte. It's kind of like if you're at a red light and you're waiting for the light to change and your foot's on the brake and the truck next to you starts to roll. You jam your foot harder onto the brake because you think you're easing up without realizing it. You think you're rolling, but you're not, but he is.
Wow.
So it looks like Mercury's in retrograde if you're watching. And
How does that affect the universe?
well, you have to buy into the fact that first of all, you can't be a flat earther. I'm not making fun of the flat earthers. I'm just saying that that's another topic. Flat earthers believe that there is no outer space, there are no planets, that the sun is really, I think, plasma energy within a dome that's over the earth that is called the firmament. And the firmament is referenced in Genesis in the Bible, the firmament. Right. So there's a huge presence of flat earthers all over the world. Apparently, they have big conventions. You could just look up flat earthers on online, and you'll get enough information to keep you busy for a couple of years. I think it's very interesting, but I am not a flat earther, and that's another big massive rabbit hole that we'll go down one day. But you have to believe that there is a galaxy and a universe, and I choose to believe that. And the energy of the stars, the planets, the constellations, so to speak, influence you. Now, how could that be if they're 500,000 light years away or something like that? Well, you've heard, or maybe you haven't heard the expression, we are stardust. We are golden, right? And we have to find our way back to the garden, or is that the words?
Yeah.
But so we are all connected, and we are energy from here, there, and everywhere. Another massive, very interesting rabbit hole to go down would be that of how many different types of extraterrestrials are here on this planet and manifest in a human form. You know, am I a Pleiadian hybrid? Phil, maybe you are too. That's why we came back together to do this podcast. They say that Jesus was a Pleiadian that came here from a higher dimension, which is why he could heal people and walk on water. Who knows? I don't have the answers, but I'd rather believe that there are many planets and many stars and whatnot in the Milky Way galaxy, which we are a part of, and that there are many, many galaxies. I think that, you know, the modern up-to-date numbers are that there's, I don't know how many stars in the Milky Way galaxy, like over 1 billion, and there are apparently over 1 billion galaxies in the universe. I mean, think about that, right? So now why did we go down that little tangent off to the side? Mercury's in retrograde. So, astrologers, if you get an astrologic chart done of yourself, and I know people very closely who do that for a living, and they have to know where you were born, the time, the date, time of your birth, all of that stuff, and then they'll use charts to figure out where the constellations were when you manifested in physical form on this planet in the third dimension. And that's how the constellations affect you as per your astrologic sign. It's much, much more complicated than that. It really is, and it's very, very fascinating. But Mercury's in retrograde. And down and dirty, what does it mean? Stupid little shitty things go wrong, like your GPS sends you in the wrong direction. You leave the water on. You leave your house to go to work and you leave your door wide open, like crap like that. Crap like that. And I've seen it over and over and over and over again that when Mercury's in retrograde, it's like, okay, look out, you know, watch out, you know, but make sure you turn that gas off on your stove. Make sure the doors are locked. Make sure the dog's pen is all locked up. Make sure they can't get out. All of that stuff, because I've seen things go unexplainably wrong every time Mercury's in retrograde.
Is it just Mercury, John? I mean,
No, other planets will look to be in retrograde, but for some reason, Mercury, when Mercury's in retrograde,
we're most affected.
It just seems to be, it really affects.
Could it be distance from the Earth?
I don't know, maybe, yeah. I'm not an astrologer or an astronomer.
Yeah. So what happened just now, it's not because we were old.
I don't think so. We'll blame Mercury.
It's because of Mercury. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as I'm getting older, I tend to forget, I mean, things that people just tell me. And, you know, as soon as they tell me, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. I know, you just told me. But it just seems like lately, you know, I mean, there's, you know, I'm forgetting a lot. If I don't have sticky notes, my desk at work is all sticky notes. I mean, I have to write.
Look at it like this. I think there's 3 or 4 phases to our ability to mentate. The early stages might be before you become a professional at whatever the hell you're doing, even if you're an Uber driver, right? You're a kid, then you're in your teens, your late teens. Once you hit early 20s, once you're old enough to drink in the United States, you really take on a different set of responsibilities. So that first quarter of your life, you're not really thinking about a lot. You're not really thinking responsibly that I'd better remember this. Some people naturally do it, but you know, it's like you're still a kid. You're still a kid, so you really, if you're sitting in the back seat of the car and your mom or your dad is driving, are you paying attention to how to get from from Essex County, New Jersey to Yankee Stadium? You're not. I don't think you are. I didn't whenever I went there, once every, whatever, 6 or 7 or 8 years. But then there's that next stage, that next uh, quarter, if you will, where we're held to be responsible for a shit ton of stuff. You know, going to school, going to college, going into the trades, owning a business, taking over a business, finances, paying taxes, life and death, you know, all of that stuff. And it's all of those things that you didn't need to concern yourself with in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And then there's the third quarter. We're in the third quarter of the game of life. We call it a game of life.
Yeah.
We're in the third quarter.
Clubhouse turn.
I mean, look, I was a very busy pediatric and neonatal general and thoracic surgeon, not a pediatrician, not an adult general surgeon. I was the guy that operated on preemies, babies, and kids up through 17. And I walked away from decades of that just this past November, at the end of November. It was, I think, the day before Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
And it was a blessed career, and I have only gratitude and thanks for the opportunity to serve my fellow man in that fashion. But homie's done, and I don't have to stay, no pun intended, razor blade scalpel sharp anymore regarding the things that are in front of me or behind me or to the left or to the right. So now I'm having fun and we're producing a podcast. And would I seem like more of a smarty pants if I researched all of the data possible on every episode? I'm not going to do that. That's not fun to be pressured. So this is really kind of a fun podcast.
Yeah.
And then there's the fourth quarter where
Shit breaks bad.
shit breaks bad in your diaper.
Oh, yeah. From once you started. Right, we started there.
Yeah.
I mean, it just
Third quarter, Phil.
Thank you. Third quarter. I'm gonna go home tonight saying that
Right.
before bed. But I mean, we're living longer. Society in general is living longer.
Yeah.
So think of our ages. People we knew at our age when we were much younger, they were dinosaurs. They were ancient. They had the cane already, I think, And now I know you still work out. I mean, you're staying active. I mean, nowadays people are extending physically, as long as they take care of themselves. They can extend it physically to try and keep doing the things you did in the first and second quarter.
Right.
Okay, but that brain.
Yeah.
Is it true? And maybe you might know this, but if there's if you're not, the brain has how many different sections? I don't know how many.
I'm not a neurosurgeon, but there's a bunch.
There's a bunch. If you're not thinking or doing math, that part of the brain supposedly.
Like if you don't use it, lose it.
Yeah.
I think that's probably true.
Like the body actually stops blood flow to the brain. Is that true? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I mean, other than bad, occlusive vascular disease where your blood vessels start to kind of stenose down because of cholesterol deposits and hardening and calcification. I mean, that happens. Some people are known as vasculopaths, which means pretty much kind of like genetically they're gonna develop all sorts of terrible vascular problems and the consequences thereof. And they can only maximize their efforts in thwarting that, watching their diet, working out, but that's something that cardiologists generally takes.
Can you exercise your brain? I mean, can you
absolutely.
like keep reading?
Yeah, no, I think that's true.
Word search.
Yeah, no, I think it's true.
There's games that pop up on my phone that said doctors say play this 3 times a day, and you're going to remember stuff. So I'm doing everything to just try.
Let me guess. The game is produced by Bill Gates.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I don't think there's any doubt that if you keep your brain sharp and lots of people seem to like to do all these little online word games, kind of like people did crossword puzzles in the Star Ledger, the local
Yeah.
newspaper, or in, remember the TV Guide?
Oh yeah, TV Guide. That was
Yeah.
a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I think that's true.
So that's what we have to do. So stay active. Everybody's staying active physically, gym, working out, walking, but nobody really talks about the brain. I mean, it's really a complex situation, just because we're living longer. And
Yeah.
it seems like, as I know, our parents, my parents, either one or the other is going. Either your body's giving up, or your brain is giving up.
Well, I mean, if we remember that old expression that, we're really the Holy Spirit housed in a temple, and our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit, then you can kind of bastardize that to, the taxi cab or the Uber that we're riding around in, and it's a timed and dated affair. I mean, look at, this kind of topic conjures up memories of one person from my past, not personal past. Jack LaLanne. I think I saw Jack LaLanne. He was towing a rowboat with 4 people in it, like
100%.
across the English Channel.
On his
And he-
on his birthday, he would do
How
something.
old was he? Like 90 or something?
102. I don't know. But yeah, on his birthday, he would do some kind of physical
Right?
feat.
Didn't he have the thing in his mouth? He was going like this.
And I think he was only like 2 feet tall or something. Like he was.
I don't know, but my
He was
mother
in great
watched.
shape.
Everybody watched Jack LaLanne,
Yeah,
and he had
yeah.
the dog Petey. I watched Jack LaLanne when I was a kid. If I stayed home sick, sometimes I would fake being sick just to watch Jack
Do
LaLanne.
you know he was in an episode of The Munsters?
Seriously?
I swear he had that stretch outfit on. I don't know what he was doing. I can't remember the episode.
Spandex
Yeah, yeah,
outfit.
that spandex outfit before anybody did. And yeah, he was a big deal. And he had that chain of gyms, right?
Oh,
Jack LaLanne.
yeah.
Yeah, he was like the first
Yeah.
guy to really have a chain.
My cousin worked there was a Jack LaLanne out by the Willowbrook Mall. I
Yeah.
think that's where it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the first time I ever put a white doctor's lab coat on, my cousin said to me, he goes, I can't make it to work today. He goes, you want to go to work for me? And I'm like, yeah, sure, but I don't work there. He goes, it's okay. Just go to work. Tell me you're going to work my shift. I'm like, really?
Boy, things were loose
Okay.
back then.
I says, well, what do I do? He goes, you just go from like machine to machine with your clipboard, just talk to people. Just talk to people and look like you're doing something official. I walked in, I did that. I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there because I never in my life felt like such a fraud,
Yeah,
such a
that's
fake.
unbelievable. So what did Jack LaLanne? Did something happen to him mentally?
No,
Oh,
he was sharp as a tack until
Till the end.
I don't know whether he had a stroke, almost 100 years old,
Yeah.
but he was the guy that, wow, I mean, I don't know how maybe he didn't avoid injury. Maybe he got them. We just didn't know about it.
I know somebody very close to you, John. If you want to talk about your mom, I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Sure.
I mean, she suffered towards the end. I mean, God rest her soul. I mean, she was a beautiful
Well, we're
woman.
talking about the brain and
Yeah.
being sharp and dementia and all that stuff. And yes, it's true. I'm a physician and I graduated medical school in 1990. And I was a little older than the average bear coming out of school in 1990 because I made a stop in dental school first in Manhattan. And then I decided that just wasn't for me. It's okay. We all need dentists. Love them dearly. But it wasn't for me. So medicine's very specialized. And I seem like I'm throwing around lots of disclaimer. But as a physician, when you're doing a show or a podcast, you have to throw a disclaimer. You want to talk about surgery and pediatrics, neonatal surgery and pediatric surgery? Guess who's the expert? I am. Anything else that I'd have to throw a disclaimer to say, well, I know a lot about it and I've dealt with it for years, but it's not my area of expertise. It's kind of like, don't let a criminal attorney do your tax law. I don't know, maybe that's the wrong thing to say, but the point is everybody's Everybody specialized. My mom, um,
Tell us about that journey. I
my
mean,
my mom was never athletic. My mom was the wife and the mother in a nuclear family that was pretty darn athletic. You know, my father played Division I football at Georgia. The Giants were looking at him. I was an athlete in high school and then college, Division III. I didn't have quote the legs to be a Division I athlete. And my brother had his day in the sun with athletics. My brother was very big, very strong. And my sister liked athletics, you know, she used to do speed skating and whatnot. But my mom, zero, zero. My mom couldn't swing a wiffle ball bat, nor did she care to. And my mom was a fabulous mom and a great wife and a super cook, and she ran a household well, and she kept the books and did the bills and all of those things. My mom was
the nerve center, the
she
center,
yeah she
the
what's
pulse.
the what my mom was the production crew for my father, who was kind of a larger than life figure where like everybody knew him, I think, in the entire tri-state area. He was just that guy, you know. And but after my sister passed in 93, my father retired the same my father retired like just I think 2 months before my sister actually passed. And then they moved out of the house I grew up in Cedar Grove, New Jersey, and they had a house built on a golf course. My father loved golf, and it was this really beautiful house in a beautiful golf course retirement community a little bit further south than central New Jersey. And it started to become obvious that my mother was getting forgetful. She wasn't um, obviously forgetful.
Mm.
She wouldn't do things like, you know, I can't remember so and so's birthday. No, it wasn't like that. It was, she started doing things like
Leave the water running.
leave the water running, right?
Oh boy.
Um, she, and it wasn't because she was inundated like a second quarter person with so much stuff on their minds. No, it was, she would just get forgetful. And then she started to lose her hearing. And we started to, that's when we knew, oh, she's got an issue. And now she's kind of through that main gate of dementia, and two neurologists were arguing over whether she had dementia of an unknown origin or, quote, Alzheimer's. So they were treating her for Alzheimer's, and, you know, and it really wasn't helping. And then when it got really problematic, um, you know, hearing aids are expensive. And
Oh
my
yeah.
mom's deafness became progressive, and she would take a set of hearing aids and take them out to do something and put them on the counter in her kitchen. And then, like an hour later, she was puttering around, always cleaning, always, nobody was more of a cleaner than my mom. And she would get those hearing and scoop them up and boink right into the garbage. Nobody saw her do it. But the hearing aid, I think they were $6,000, $7,000,
Not
and
cheap.
I'm not so sure that the insurance covered, you know, the hearing aids back then. I think she went through like 4 or 5 pair of hearing aid because she was throwing them all away. My father called me up one day and he goes, you know, do me a favor. He goes, you're coming down tomorrow? Yeah, we're coming down. He says, do me a favor. He goes, and stop off somewhere and buy me a whole packet of like kitchen towels, like dish towels. I says, yeah. I says, why? What happened? He says, your mother uses them and then throws them in the can, throws them in the garbage as if they were paper towels. And I was like, oh boy, okay. And then when we would take her to a restaurant, you know, here comes the waiter, you know, service for six. And she would take the menu and just kind of stare at it because she was watching us to see what we were doing. And she didn't have any idea what the menu was. She would laugh and go, what's, what's this?
How old was she at that time, John?
Well, she passed just this past February, a couple months ago, and she was 89, February, March. She was 1 month short of her 90th birthday. And, I mean, it, for the women in my family on both sides, her mother lived to be, I think, 97 and a half, and my father's mother lived to be just short of 100.
Mm.
And my mother's sister, my Aunt T, lived to be 101. And then I know people on my brother's in-laws side that were 103. So, 89 or almost 90 sounds like it's really old when you're 14, but when you're in your 60s and you go, well, if she was doing good and she was 90, then God bless her, she was doing good. But my mom was suffering from progressive dementia for about 14 years. 14 years? And after my dad passed, it was really, really tough. That's one angle on this that we could talk about. Very, very challenging to get in your car and drive an hour and 20 minutes to where your parents live and your dad is gone and your mom lives with a 24/7 aide.
Caretaker.
And most of the time, if you really, really, really wanted to get in her face, she would know who you were. But dementia and deafness, that's a motherfucker of a combination.
Jesus.
And the last time I was absolutely sure she knew who I was, I went through a cardboard box full of old photographs. Remember pictures? The actual pictures that were, that came out of
Kodak.
Yeah, pictures that came. You had to go to the pharmacy and, hey, bring that film down there. We got to get those developed before the birthday party. That kind of stuff. And you'd come away and you'd order 2 sets just in case. You had this thick packet, and all of those pictures that today fill up either photo albums or a cardboard box. Today, everybody's got 25,000 pictures, and where are they? In their cell phone. In their cell phones. And the sad thing is that the old timers today don't have cell phones, so they never can see anybody's pictures. Talk about sensory deprivation. So the last time I was absolutely sure that my mom knew who was sitting in front of her, I had the beard. I got the beard since 2016. And I think she didn't like the beard because she would look at me and kind of make a face. And I pulled out a picture of me standing on the front steps of the house I grew up in, the one next to you in Cedar Grove. And it was me in my blue jeans and my cowboy boots and a down winter jacket. And I think I had a book bag. I think I must have been getting in the car to go to class at Montclair State. I graduated from Montclair State, which is, I think it's Montclair State University. And I put it up to her. Now, mind you, she wore glasses for a bunch of years. I cleaned her glasses off, and I stuck the picture in her face. And I was too close. She put her head back, and then she looked, and then she pointed at me. She went like as if to say, "You?" And I says, "Yeah, Mom. Yeah, it was me." So, for those of you who are dealing with parents or older relatives, but especially parents that are suffering from dementia, do your best to get to where they are. Yeah, it's difficult when they're an hour and 20 minutes away, that's for sure, but do your best. Have a little routine. Play music for them. And don't play contemporary music for somebody that's in their 80s or 90s. Play the music of their era. So toward the end, I had a whole cache of all sorts of eclectic music. And I love a lot of the music that was of my mom's era when she was young and healthy and a newlywed and a young mother and whatnot. And we're talking about Johnny Mathis, Nat King Cole, Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra. Those were the people that were on the top of the world musically in the 50s and the 60s. 40s also, but you know. And so I would turn it on real loud and put it by her, and she could hear it, and you'd see her eyes would start to look around like, wow. And so all of those years of, you know, of going without, because let's face it, when you don't live with them, even if you say to their caretaker, hey, play some music, put on that music. You know, I would come down and I think they would put the music on 20 minutes before I walked in. And there was this little music thing, and it was across the room on a counter. And she's deaf anyway, and you can't hear it. Say, all right, boink, turn it off, torque up the cell phone, and you play Johnny Mathis, and you put it right next to her head. That's it. You order her favorite foods, and you know it's funny. One of those last things to go on a person with dementia is their ability to eat. You know, and maybe it was just you know my family thing. We're all foodies, but you know, she could feed herself up until about a year before she passed, and then she had to be fed. But boy, she knew when the eggplant parm was in front of her. That's for sure. She may not have known who the hell I was, but she knew what was in front of her, and she enjoyed the food if you fed her. So those are the things that you really, really should do. Why? It makes a difference for them, and I promise you, now that I've gone through that portal and out the other end, it makes the difference for you and your heart and your mind that you know you did everything you could for your mom and your dad while they couldn't do anything for themselves. And no matter how hard it was, I got to be honest with you, it got to the point where I used to hate going down to see her house because I would, you know, it's like you're watching the clock. It's like she can't see you, she can't hear you, she can't talk to you. Okay, it's dinner time. Okay, it's time for some music. She can't even see photographs anymore. It was so difficult. But, but, we got through it. She was thankful for my presence. And I'm going to take it a step further, and most of you won't expect this, but this is what the Jersey Alchemist is really about. I have a friend of mine, actually, here. For all of you really, really hard right conservative Christians out there, you're going to have to just bear with this, okay? But Johnny Boy here is surrounded by mediums and psychics, and no, they're not from the devil, for God's sakes. They're gifted people, just like there's only one Michael Jordan, there's only one Wayne Gretzky, there's only one Thor, the strongest man, there's only one Muhammad Ali, and guess what? There are some people who can paint on a canvas, there are some people who can take a little tiny preemie apart, fix it and put it back together and hand it back to mama, and it's good to go for another 90 years. I'm that guy, and there are people who are psychics and who are mediums. So get over your stiffness. Point is, one of my dear friends, who's a medium, called me up after my mom passed. And she said to me, she goes, your mom hung on for too long. Your mom did not know how to move on. And of course, as you would have suspected, your dad was there, and he literally reached his hand through the veil and took her by the hand and literally said to her, okay, it's time, enough, and pulled her. And I was on the couch in the living room, and my mom was babbling and talking loudly until about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, Jesus, Lord, please just take her. I love my mom, just take her. And then I got so exhausted because I held a vigil there for like, I don't know how long, I think 5 days or something like that. And I shut the doors to her bedroom. I just shut the doors to give her that moment to move on. Because when my dad passed away, I was lying on a couch right next to his hospice bed, right in his living room. And I was staring at him for 9 days. 9 days. The whole house was packed with people. But now I was so exhausted after 9 days. I put my hands on my head. I was on the couch. I closed my eyes, which seemed like for a second. And I was aware of the time because there was a TV with music on. And I freaked out. I freaked out and I looked at the clock on the TV and I realized that I had been elsewhere consciously for about a half an hour. And I twisted my head to the left and I saw my dad's silhouette and where he had been taking, his agonal breaths for God knows how long. He was completely still. He was gone. And it was the first time in my life that I looked at my father and he was dead. And I sat up and turned the lights on and I freaked out. Now, I'm a physician, I'm a surgeon, I'm a big boy. This was 2014. I freaked out and panicked for about 2 seconds that I didn't know how to be on the planet without my dad. And then I took a deep breath and I said, wow, okay. Lots of things went through my head, lots of thoughts went through my head, and then I called the funeral parlor, and it was actually like 2:20 a.m. And they showed up about an hour and a half later. They were lickety split, and they were in Cedar Grove. And my best friend in grammar school, his dad, showed up, and I was so thrilled to see Teddy Allendorf's dad, Mr. Allendorf, show up, and I helped him get my dad, wrap him up, put him in the back of the hearse. And by that time, the sun was just coming up. And there was kind of like a dew on the grass. And this was in July. And I'll never forget, Mr. Allendorf gave me a big hug, gave me a kiss. And I stood there watching that hearse pull away with the person that meant everything to me on this planet. I was my father's right-hand man. I was that kid. And the point was that he didn't want to leave while I was watching him. He waited until I zoned out. And then I zoned back in and panicked. Oh shit, like in other words, my consciousness wasn't on him. Oh my God, it's been almost a half an hour. Oh fuck. Boom, look, he's gone. Crazy. And my mom did the same thing. For some reason, I would have been fine. I would have been fine if she was babbling and babbling and babbling and then just stopped and I would have been okay. But she waited until I passed out, and I couldn't pass out unless I closed her bedroom door so I could really not hear her going. She was babbling like a turkey in her bedroom, and then I woke up around, I don't know, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I heard zip, nothing, and I was like, do I want to do this to the funeral parlor at 3:30 in the morning? I mean, I could have. That's what they do. And I was so exhausted, and I said, you know what? I set my alarm for 5:30 in the morning. The alarm went off, and I just stood up. I took a deep breath, and I said, all right, let's go in and face the music. And I opened their bedroom doors. They were double doors. And she looked like perfect. Look, even though I'm a big boy and I've operated on 14,000 people and I've seen life and death 1,000,000,000 times over, there's always that little trepidation about what are you going to see? Because I knew she had to be gone. And there she was, kind of in her semi-sit-up position with her pillow behind her head, her hands tucked onto the rim of her little blanket. And I walked over to her And I just looked and I watched, checked her pupils, gone, blown pupils. And I put my hand on her forehead, and her forehead was cool. Put my hands on her belly was hot. Her belly was still, you know, 98.6 or more. And she was gone. She was gone. But she would not leave with me watching. And I don't know that everybody does that, but my mom and dad would not leave if I were watching. And my dad had to kind of say, okay, just like he would have if he was alive. All right, hey, Catherine. My mom's name was Catherine. Catherine, come on, let's go. Enough. 14 years of dementia and suffering. It's okay. I got you. Let's go.
Wow.
That's
it.
You know,
what
that's
you have
my
to-
experience with dementia. And humanity is not there yet regarding treating dementia. We're not there yet. No, I'm not, certainly not on the cutting edge of diagnosing and treating dementia. That's not what I do. I learned a lot about it, but anyway.
Can you alchemize this episode?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, this was a personal
Wow.
episode, but I think that people are gonna, I think there's something here for people who are dealing with loved ones that have dementia. The bottom line is, we're all in this crazy world together. Energetically, spiritually, physically. The planets and the stars actually do exact their toll on our energy. It's all about energy. And when you're born of a father and a mother, whether they're still together or whether one's passed or not, when you're dealing with your loved ones, and it could be a grandparent, or it could be an aunt, or it could be your next door neighbor that you love dearly, if they have dementia, remember that there's much more to your connection with them than physically being able to speak and move vibrations with your vocal cords so it hits their eardrums and it registers as sound and language. There's more to your relationship than grabbing their hand and holding their hand. All of that stuff is really important, but when it gets beyond that, that's when the prayer and the meditation takes over. That's when the energy from your heart is felt by them. How do I know? Because I've heard it from friends, dear friends, that will report back to me after my loved ones have passed. They know that you were there. They know your feelings. And they're going to be around you long after they're passed. They're not gone. We're all in this crazy world forever. So pray for your friends and your family members that have dementia. Be tender with them. Love them. Give them the love that they so desperately want from you, even when they can't return what you think is the physical manifestation of the gesture of love. It's all about your heart. So that's what I want to say. And you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. And when you've done everything that you can do, and when it's the final episode is over and they're gone, they're dead and buried, you'll have peace in your heart and your mind. And don't beat yourself up over, oh my God, I should have been there more often. Forgive yourself, because when someone's sick and it's kind of a terminal event, especially with dementia, please, for God's sakes, friends, people, forgive yourself for being imperfect. That's it. Give love and forgiveness. And if people could just come across with love and forgiveness, you change the world tomorrow.
Well said, John. Great job. Love and forgiveness, people. Join us next time on the Jersey Alchemist. If you like what we're doing, press like and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.